Hello friends, I present to you another review, made possible thanks to your support. This time, one of the channel's subscribers sent me a device for testing, created by the developers of the Home Assistant smart home system, which functions as a voice assistant. In a way, it is an alternative to smart speakers from Apple, Alexa, or Google Home, but designed for use with Home Assistant. I want to emphasize right away that the development of a fully functional voice assistant for Home Assistant is far from complete. Therefore, I think it is too early to talk about full-fledged usage. However, we can already start exploring this topic, studying its capabilities and possible use cases. Details are in my review below. But for now, as always, I ask you to like this video so that more people interested in smart home technology can find it, and to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Device type, voice assistant. Platform used, ESP32, S3 SoC, 16 MB flash, 8 MB PSRM. Built-in speaker and 2 microphones. Audio, ZMOS XU316. External audio output, DAC TI AIC 3204. Wireless interfaces, 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0. Firmware, ESP Home. Power supply, 5 volts, USB-C. Control, button, rotary ring. Size, 84 by 84 by 21 millimeters. Requirements, installed Home Assistant system. For convenience, I will refer to the Home Assistant Voice Preview Edition simply as the Assistant. It arrived packaged in a plain cardboard box. Inside was the packaging of the Assistant itself. As I mentioned, it is currently in the stage of active development and testing, which is why the name includes an important clarification, Preview Edition. In the box, as stated on it, there was the Assistant itself, a booklet with warranty information, a quick start guide, and a sticker. A cable and power adapter are not included. Of all these items, the most valuable is precisely the QR code and link for quickly setting up the Assistant. The Assistant is a square box made of white plastic, measuring 84 by 84 by 21 millimeters. On the top, in the center, there is a button surrounded by a rotary ring. Around the edges, there are microphone holes. On one of the sides, there is a recess containing 2 ports, one for connecting the power cable and the other for an external audio system. On the bottom, there is a sticker with technical information, model, MAC address, serial number, and labels for the ports. On one of the sides, there is perforation behind which the speaker is located. On another side, there is a switch that turns off the microphones if needed. To power the Assistant, you need a USB-C cable and a 5-volt power adapter. Those who want better sound quality than the built-in speaker can connect an external audio system. Let's take a look inside the case. To access the screws, you need to remove the plastic covers from the corners on the bottom. These screws hold the top cover in place. Removing it gives access to the device's circuit board, which is secured in the case with 4 additional screws. At the edges, there are 2 microphones that capture voice commands. In the center, there is a button surrounded by the rotary ring and another, thinner ring which serves as a backlight. Removing the screws provides access to the back of the circuit board. I won't go too deep into the hardware details, as my reviews focus on other aspects. On this side, you can see the screw heads that secure the central module with the button and ring. I won't remove it. And here is the internal speaker of the Assistant, which outputs sound through the perforated side. Now we can proceed with connection and setup. I will show the process described in the documentation, the link to which can be found in the quick start guide and in the description below this video. For the first connection, it is recommended to use a smartphone or tablet with Bluetooth enabled and the Home Assistant client installed. The client, in turn, must be connected to the server. Go to the Integrations section and in the list of new integrations, look for something with a name starting with Home Assistant, connected via BLE. Next, you confirm your intention to set up a new device, after which you need to enter your credentials to connect to your Wi-Fi network. At this stage, there is a very reasonable and correct solution, in my opinion. You can proceed with the setup only after pressing the button on the assistant, confirming that you have physical access to it. Once connected to the Wi-Fi network, the first stage is complete. Next, the assistant itself needs to be added. As I mentioned earlier, its firmware is based on ESP Home, so it will be integrated accordingly. After adding it, a process is initiated to check for updates. After updating, the device is ready to use. It can be woken up with the key phrase, "OK Nabu." The speaker volume is adjusted using the rotary ring. The current level is indicated by the backlight. Let's go to the ESP Home integration. A new entry for the voice assistant has appeared, one device containing 13 entities. In addition to the standard entities such as the media player and volume level, there is something new, Assist Satellite. At least, I have not encountered this before. Next, there are menus for selecting the assistant, preferred, local, or cloud-based, as well as conversation detection level, backlight switches, microphone mute, and wake word settings. 3 options are available: Hey Jarvis, Hey Mycroft, and OK Nabu. By the way, Hey Nabu also works fine, and for some reason, I find it more convenient. Instead of a wake word, you can press the button on the assistant once.
Hey Nabu.
Home Assistant voice control supports many different languages, but at varying levels. Some are fully supported locally, while others still require cloud processing. I chose Ukrainian, which is supported at a usable level but through the cloud. I have been a user of the Home Assistant cloud service for quite a long time, definitely more than 3 years, possibly longer. This not only provides many additional features, such as simple and convenient external access and the use of various services, but it is also a way of showing my appreciation to the creators of this wonderful project. Therefore, if possible, consider subscribing to the service, especially since you can try it for free for 31 days. I am interested in the voice assistance menu. Let's go in and see what's available. A Ukrainian language assistant has been added. As I mentioned earlier, at the time of this video's release, it operates through the cloud. It also shows that I have one assistant device. Here is the module I connected. If desired, multiple modules can be connected and placed in different rooms. There is also a second tab where devices that can be controlled via the assistants will be displayed. By selecting the desired device from the list, you can create one or more aliases, names that can be used to control the device via assistants. This is useful because system-generated names are not always convenient for pronunciation. You can first test the functionality in the text assistant, which is accessed by pressing the 3-dot button on the right. Here is an example of direct device control. In this case, turning on a chandelier using an alias in the assistant's text mode. And here is turning the chandelier off. Similarly, basic commands for relays, switches, sockets, and curtains are executed. However, settings such as adjusting brightness or setting the thermostat temperature were not working for me at the time of recording this video.
Hey Nabu. Увімкни велика люстра.
Велика люстра вімкнено.
Hey Nabu. Виключи велика люстра.
Велика люстра вимкнено.
Sometimes, issues like this occur as well.
Hey Nabu. Виключи велика люстра.
Вибачте, я цього не розумію.
It is also possible to request the status of a specific object, such as the temperature reading. An alias can also be set from the device page. Open the desired entity and go to Settings. Here, we need the Voice Assistance section. adding an alias. Now this name can be used in requests to the assistant. Checking in the text version, the response here looks quite acceptable.
Окей, Набу. Який стан гостинна температура?
Гостинна температура 23-14 С.
And here, it could use some improvement.
Хей, Набу. Таймер на 15 секунд.
Встановлено таймер на 15 секунд.
The function works, but the response format is not entirely correct. A more interesting use case, in my opinion, is using the assistant with automations, where you can define your own keywords and phrases that trigger specific actions. This is done using the conversation integration. As a simple example, I'll take one of my working automations. When triggered, it turns off all lights in one of the rooms, then turns certain ones back on in colored light mode. The structure is simple, but there are many actions. In direct device control, multiple commands would be required. I'll show how to create a trigger using the automation builder. Here, you need to find and select the sentence option. Then, add the command that will serve as the trigger for this automation. To keep the video from getting too long, I won't list all the actions of this automation, turning the lights off and back on. Since I have created a virtual button in Home Assistant's interface for backlight control, I will use it here as well. Here is the structure of this automation. The trigger is a phrase, and the action is pressing a button, which in turn triggers the turning off and on of several lights. However, you can directly specify light control here as well. And here is the code for this automation. Testing in the text assistant. The command triggered the automation, and after execution, the assistant responded with done.
Ей, Набу. Підсвітка телевізора.
Done.
It works exactly the same here. Now let's move on to more interesting and complex examples. Here, the visual builder is no longer sufficient, so everything will be shown in code format. You can find the text version of this package via the link in the description. I decided to create an automation that will announce the temperature from an outdoor temperature sensor, doing so in a more natural way rather than how it was heard in direct sensor status requests. For this, I had to create a special template sensor. It takes data from a specified temperature sensor, intended for outdoor use in this case, but for better understanding, I will show both indoor and outdoor readings. Next, based on the readings, a general description is determined. If below 10 degrees Celsius, it's cold. From 10 to 25 degrees Celsius, it's warm. And above 25 degrees Celsius, it's hot. To make the response sound more natural, I convert numerical values into text. This is a simple mapping of numbers to their textual equivalents. Temperature readings are rounded to whole numbers, as it is more convenient. Then, depending on the specific temperature value, the correct grammatical form of the word degree is chosen. Right now, the template is tracking the indoor sensor. Its value, warm, 24 degrees. Now for the outdoor sensor, cold, 3 degrees. Creating the automation for the assistant. The text version of its code, as a reminder, is available via the link in the video description. The trigger is conversation and the key phrase. In this example, what's the temperature outside? The action uses the standard text-to-speech integration, which allows voice and language selection on the Home Assistant Cloud Settings page. It utilizes the media player entity of the same assistant, and the message content is the status of the template sensor I created, which essentially forms the required response. When I created and tested this automation, I discovered that due to the assistant saying done after executing the command, the actual response phrase would get lost. So, I had to add a 5-second delay to ensure it first speaks the answer and only then says done. So far, I haven't come up with a better solution.
Гей, Набу! Що на вулиці?
Тепло 23 градуси. Дан.
Гей, Набу! Що на вулиці?
Холодно 6 градусів. Дан.
Now let's look at using multiple assistants simultaneously. I have two, but the principle I'll show can be applied to any number of devices. The first assistant, as you remember, was connected using a smartphone with the Home Assistant client installed. But since my smart home server also has Bluetooth, I decided to connect the second assistant through its web interface. It worked. The steps are identical to those shown earlier, first connecting to Wi-Fi via Bluetooth. Then, it is added as a voice assistant, with the first step being to check and, if necessary, update the firmware to the latest version. The steps are simple. You only need to press the assistance button once for authorization. At the final step, it immediately offers to choose the wake word, processing type, and voice. All these settings can be changed at any time. Again, I want to clarify that my server is connected to the Home Assistant cloud. In the ESP Home integration, there are now two devices. They differ only by their numeric codes. In the Voice Assistance menu, both assistant devices are also displayed. There are no limits on the number of devices. You can have a separate device for each room. There is no location-based restriction. They work over Wi-Fi and only require power.
Окей, Набу!
Throughout all my experiments, whenever I said the wake word, only one of the assistants responded.
Окей, Набу! Окей, Набу!
Not once did I see them activate simultaneously.
Окей, Набу!
Now a new question arises. How can we determine which assistant recognized the wake word? For this, we can use the assist satellite entity. By default, and for most of the time, it remains in the idle status. After saying the wake word, the assistant that responds to it will change the status of this entity. First, it switches to listening while waiting for the command. Then, it moves to processing as it executes the command. Next, it changes to responding to indicate that the command has been carried out. After that, it returns to the default idle status. This status change will be the indicator to determine which assistant heard the wake word. What can this be used for? One possible use case is to trigger different actions based on which device processed the command. For testing, I used the word hello as a trigger phrase, and depending on which assistant received the command, different actions were performed. A practical example would be controlling lights in different rooms. The most convenient approach is to use a condition selector. The number of condition blocks should match the number of assistants in your system. We check the status of the first assistant. It should not be idle, meaning it is in some stage of processing. If the condition is met, the corresponding set of actions is executed. In this case, the assistant will respond. First assistant is online. However, this could also be used to, for example, turn on the lights in that room. If the first condition is not met, it means the command was received by another assistant. Here, we check the status of the second assistant, then the third, and so on. In this example, the media player of the second assistant will respond. Second assistant is online. By the way, for the previously mentioned use case, requesting the outdoor temperature, it would also make sense to send the response to the assistant that received the request.
Окей, Набу. Привіт.
Перший асистент на зв'язку. Дан.
Окей, Набу. Привіт.
Другий асистент на зв'язку. Дан.
This is how the assistants appear when Home Assistant is unavailable, for example, during a system reboot. This can be used as an indicator of potential issues. Interaction with a smart home system via voice is a highly sought-after feature that is actively being developed by almost all manufacturers. Home Assistant is no exception. Although there is still a lot of work to be done, even at this stage, the assistant functionality is quite usable. The level of support and the ability to use it locally depend on your preferred language, so some of the examples shown here may look different for you. I'd love to hear about your experience. Please share your thoughts in the comments below the video. That's all for now. I hope this review was useful and interesting to you. I'd greatly appreciate your likes. They help promote the video on YouTube. If you don't want to miss new reviews and tutorials, subscribe to my channel. In the video description, I'll leave links to stores where you can order this device, as well as my Telegram channels and social media, along with groups for smart home discussions. Feel free to join. It will be interesting. Thank you for your attention. Until next time, peace to all.